one another. And instead of building with our sisters, we'll compete with each other. You see them, bad girls are out flocking to the financial stimulation. And the good girls are out chasing their higher education. What they're not noticing, no matter what's your drive and motivation, our main purpose and elevation is to get out of this situation. So whether you're a bad girl or a good girl, we're all girls at the end of the day. That means we go out there and hustle regardless of what people say. So whether you dancing on a pole or waiting tables for your pay, I think we just need to remember that we're trying to make our way. You see, the good girl in school might not have money because she got to pay tuition. So she starts hating on the bad girl for having a better position. And the bad girls won't befriend the good girls because she thinks that she's going to judge her. She's out pretending like she loves it when she just wants someone to love her. So to the bad girl, being a good girl is the only way that she'll get saved. And to the good girl, being a bad girl is the only way that we'll get praised. And I think if we just step back and notice that regardless of the name, those good girls and bad girls are one and the same. I think the world and society around us is already too demanding. So as women, it's our duty to show each other some understanding. We're dishing out too many insults instead of compliments when we talk. Look, I may not have ever worn your shoes, but girl, I understand your walk. We're all learning different lessons, but we're still in the same class. I say don't ever judge no woman if you've never heard her past. Don't judge the good girl if she broke because she refused to sleep around. And don't judge that bad girl single mother that's picking them singles off the ground. I think we need to find the love and build our characters within, because women shouldn't judge each other. We get enough of that shit from men. I think if we looked at each other as family and not just strangers and drifters, you'll see those girls are not your enemies. Those are your motherfucking sisters. I want to take away division and bring back sticking together, because the bond we build in friendships, that's the one that lasts forever. So my message is this: at the end of the day, when it all boils back down, those good girls and the bad girls are wearing the same crown.
I wanted to pull together these kind of events because a lot of times we don't take care of each other, we don't take care of ourselves, and we don't invest as much as we should, or as much as we invest in our bosses, as much as we invest in our men, as much as we invest in our children. We don't take the time to do it for ourselves, or sometimes to even do it for our sisters. I stand before you today because of the sisters that have come before me and turned around and reached back and got me where I am today. I never will claim that I did this by myself. So I wanted to bring together women that can lean on each other, that can network, that can get to know each other to help further their careers. And if in any way I could be the catalyst to help you in whatever it is that you want to do, wherever you want to go, I'm here. So that's why we have these EGL events. I do believe that you can be the best you can be. Being a superhero or superwoman may be unrealistic, but being the best you can be is very, very achievable. And that is why I put these events together. So I'm going to let my panelists start with the introduction, and I will start over here to my left, and we're going to go around. We're just going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and how we got into this business, some stories, and then I'm going to open the floor fairly early for questions, because I know a lot of you are here because you're looking for something. And hopefully, and I'm sure the people on this panel can answer some of your questions.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hey, my name is Arian Simone. I've been in the entertainment industry for about 12 to 13 years. And after college, I didn't get into it because I was even seeking it. After college, I attended Florida A&M University. I graduated, and I moved all the way to Los Angeles, California with the job. And I worked it for like 30 days, and then I got laid off. Company gets sold, and I was like, okay. So over time, I ran out of cash, and I got a notice on my apartment that said, pay rent or quit. I said, well, I guess I have to quit. And I moved from my apartment to my car. And I was without a place to stay for 7 months. I was on welfare, food stamps, whole nine. Well, from that one job I had for 30 days, somebody took notice of my work ethic. And they said, hey, my wife needs some help with some PR. And I was like, great. I didn't know what PR really was at the time. But had they called to ask me to clean the toilets, I just wanted to eat. I would have said yes. And from there, they referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody. And I ended up with like 5 to 7 projects in a matter of about 2 weeks. And then I got office space. And then I lived on the 26th floor of Wilshire's, of 5900 Wilshire. But on the 19th floor was the radio station at the time. And it was 100.3 The Beat. It was the happening hip hop station. And every morning I would go shower at LA Fitness and I'd go network. every single morning. Steve Harvey had his morning show. Whoever was in the building, I was just making it happen. And then I was living in an office space because I couldn't afford an apartment at the time. I was like, let me just save up. And Coach Carter, y'all remember the movie Coach Carter? Yeah. Coach Carter from the film, he found me on the office space sleeping there one night. And he said, hey, I'm going to help you out, have Paramount Studios cut you a check. And from there on, I started working on film publicity. And I've gone on to work on Limitless and James Bond films and Will Smith films and Martin Lawrence films. And the list goes on and on and on. But that's like the cliff notes to the story of pretty much how I got into the entertainment industry.
Hi guys, how are you tonight? Are we gonna get a little bit more energy than this? Because I'm running on empty. No, for those of you who don't know, my name is Mona Scott Young. I am the CEO of Mona Entertainment. It's a multi-platformed entertainment content company. I also am the CMO of Mixed Fusions Moscato. And what else do I do? I still, music management. I started my career out managing producers and recording artists. I ran a fairly successful management company for many, many years with my late partner, Chris Lighty, a company called Violator. And over the course of the years, we managed, I would like to think, the who's who in urban music. In about 2008, I decided to branch out and I started Mona Entertainment. And that was a company primarily focused on brand and product development, television, it was an opportunity for me to kind of do something different after having done the very same thing for a very long time. Yandy, who actually was I'd like to think mentee, can I say that? Yeah. Yandy started out.
Intern, coffee getter, paper organizer. You name it, I was her.
A general all-around minion. No. Yandy started with me at Violator, but after a while, Yandy left to kind of pursue her own career goals.
I have a story about that I'll share.
Okay. It was the same story I tell.
It probably isn't, from my perspective.
Good, you guys will get the story from both of our sides. No, Yandy left and I was very proud of her, and she went off to manage a rapper by the name of Jim Jones. And when I left in 2008 and I started Mona Entertainment, Yandy came back into the fold and she joined me at Mona and she brought Jim Jones as a client. And, well, we'll tell this story later, but that union led to what you guys now know as Love and Hip Hop and that Love and Hip Hop franchise. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. But so for the past 8 years, I have been primarily producing television. During the course of that, I have also launched Mixed Fusions Moscato, which is a Moscato brand. We have since launched into Sangria. I am launching a publishing company with Simon & Schuster, so there will be an imprint there doing books. I've moved into the mobile content space with Love and Hip Hop The Game. Download now on iOS and Android. And you know, just generally living the best life that I could possibly live by just testing the boundaries of what I'm made of every single day. So I am a wife, a mother, a sister, and I'm very happy to be here to share information because I know growing up in this game myself, there weren't that many footsteps that I could step into as I navigated this path. And I try my best to provide that opportunity and to, especially for women, sorry guys, I try to bring them in and give them the opportunity to make a move into this business because it is not an easy one to get into and to break into, but I'm happy to be here to share my experiences and hopefully in the course of that you guys can take from it something that helps you in your journey. But, you know, I commend you. I'm so proud of Yandy and everything that she's, you know, accomplished so far. Not only being a mother and a wife, but watching everything that you've set your mind to come to fruition and grow and build. And it's exactly what I hoped for you when you stood in front of me fresh out of college and willing to do anything for free just to break into the business. So this is a living testament of what you can be if you set your mind to something, stay focused on it, and not let anything stand in your way. So thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much, guys. I look forward to talking to you.
everyone. Hope everyone's having a good night. My name is Maeve. I'm a brand strategist. I do a whole bunch of things. I don't even know where to start. I never initially interned anywhere, so I kind of had to figure out the industry on my own. So that kind of just created a unique skill set. So I started out in film. I ended up not interning, but I ended up freelancing, I should say, for free for a few artists, shooting music videos, network like crazy, use that as a means to just observe, learn, figure out what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong. I used that to launch a media company a few years back. I was actually managing an artist at the time. Used everything I learned in the process as a tool to basically get him ahead. That led to me doing a deal with French Montana a few years back. We went ahead to produce for Kanye. We did it all day. With the launch of the media company, I kind of learned brands, how to work with brands, how to integrate corporations with artists, using their likeness to kind of create more awareness for the product. Now that's something I kind of do full time. I consult a lot of different emerging artists, established artists. I consult at Sony Red. I work with RCA. Yeah, just a variety of things. Just kind of like using my network to align different people, especially brands with artists. I definitely do a lot of endorsements. Did some stuff for a few people, working on some stuff for Yandy, etc. So hopefully I can give you guys some insight.
Hi, I am Yandy Smith Harris, and for those of you that don't know, I would say, a daughter of the multimedia space. Right now, I am on this little show you guys might have heard of, Love and Hip Hop. And
Obama shouted us out.
hello. Okay, there you go. However, that is not where I got my start. I'd like to say my start came a while back when I was in college, and I don't know if any of you are like me, but I had my whole set, my goals of where I was going to go and what I was going to do back from college. I interned at the Gap in their fashion department every year for 4 years. Even in high school, I interned in their corporate office. By the time I was in college, they sent me to San Francisco every year to train me to be a top merchandiser by the time I graduated. By the time I hit my senior year, the CEO of the company, Mickey Drexler, who gave me actually my scholarship to Howard, left the company. And the retail management program he set up left with him. So I was going to start working at the Gap. My $80,000 salary that I was going to go into, because I interned for almost 8 years, was now going to be a $28,000 salary, and I just did not want that. So I had to change the direction of my life. And that wasn't easy. I was a 21-year-old girl that all I did, and really the only space I've interned in, was at the Gap. So I stayed in DC for a little while longer. I bartended, I waited tables. And then I came to New York. I came to New York sleeping on, mom's bed, mom's couch, just trying to figure out my next step. Someone called me, one of my friends. I don't even remember which friend this was. And my friend said, I need to book an artist. He was a party promoter. I remember that. And he said, I need to book an artist. Come with me. I got to go to this office. Bye later. And, I got to just come with me. So I was like, all right. And I didn't want to sit in the car, so I came upstairs with him. I sat in the conference room. And while I sat in the conference room, I don't know what was going on this day at Violator, but I saw Busta come in the office. I heard his voice, and I'm like, well, where am I? I got Busta Rhymes in the building. I sat there a little longer, and I heard Nori from Noriega Capone come in the office. I heard all these artists coming in and out, and I was like, oh my, I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? So I couldn't let that opportunity go. So I remember going up to the reception desk. Those that were here earlier, you guys heard this story, bear with me. I went up to the reception desk, and she was reading a book, and I'm like, hi, are you guys looking for, no. we're not looking. She didn't even look up. And I'm like, that was Tiffany. So she's like, I guess they're all like this. So she didn't even look up. No, we're not looking. I was like, all right, let me go back to the conference room. Went back to the conference room. So I sat there trying to figure out, like, all right, there has to be another way. There has to be. I went back to the desk. Hey, I'm sorry. I wanted to get, the email, or here's a card. It was a regular violator card that had like a regular number and the violator information email address. Right, super generic. She's like, here, just take this card. Still in her book. And I'm like, that didn't work. Okay, went back to the conference room. By this time, my friend was done. He's leaving. And I'm like, this just wasn't good. So I was like, let me just go back. I said, listen, I don't know if you got my name. What's your name? I didn't get your name. She's like, Tiffany. And I'm like, okay, hey, I'm Yandy. I'm going to email this, this email address on this card, but just look out for my resume. I'm going to get it to you. She's like, all right, whatever. Looking at her book. She leaves. Probably the next day, I think it was the next day, I called the number on the card, and she picked up. And I'm like, hi, Tiffany, right? It's Yandy. I met you yesterday. I don't know if anything has opened up since I met you, but I just wanted to make sure that, you knew that but one thing, I left this out. That next day, because, I didn't have a job, I was on mom's couch. I went and got that book she was reading, because she was so into this book. It was The Coldest Winter Ever. I went and got that book, and I said, hey, Tiffany, I realized you were reading this book, Coldest Winter Ever. I was like, I just started it. It's so good. She's like, oh, yeah, wait till you get to chapter 6. It gets crazy, but she's like, I got to get back to work. These phones are ringing crazy. I'm like, okay, girl, but I'm going to email you my resume. She's like, okay, hang up. I made sure I got up to chapter 6, and that was a Monday that I got to the office. That was a Tuesday I called her. So Thursday, I let a day go by, because I said, I don't want to be a stalker. So I let a day go by. Thursday, I said, hey, Tiff. She's Tiffany. Hey, guess what, girl? I said, listen, I sent my resume over to that email address you gave me. I never got a reply. So I wanted to send it to you directly. Do you have an email address that I could just... She's like, all right, I don't really do the recruiting, but okay, here, this is my email address. And I'm like, wait, let me tell you something, girl. She's like, all right, I was like, wait. I got up to chapter 6, and midnight, he is crazy. That's how I thought. She's like, girl, she started, midnight and this and that happening. When you get to chapter 12, girlfriend, it gets really crazy. And I'm like, all right. So hung up from her, and I remember that was a Thursday, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna let this whole weekend go by, and I gotta get up to chapter 12. Monday morning, I called, I said, Mom, I need to borrow some money from you. So I said, Tiffany, hey girl, it's Yandy. Chapter 12 was incredible. I sent that email address to your personal account. Did you get it? Yeah, I got it. And I'm going to, as soon as something opens up, Yandy, I got you. We don't have any internships or anyone hiring right now, but I got you. And I said, well, listen, great news. I got a temp job right on your block. How coincidental is that? And I said, and I'm going to take lunch from 12 to 2. So let me know tomorrow if you're going to be available from 12 to 2, because I'll just take you to lunch. And she's like, oh, all right, cool, no problem. That Tuesday, she called me. I was there at 12. Wait, I had no temp job on her block. I was down there at 12 o'clock waiting for her to call. She called, I was 1 something. I've already been there for an hour. And I'm like, hey, she's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to go take lunch. If you still want to take me to lunch. And I'm like, oh, girl, I'm about to walk, but I'm going to see you in 5 minutes. I was already in front of the building, used my last bit of gas money to get down there and take her to eat. Went to eat. The whole time we ate, we just talked about what school she went to. We talked about the book, of course. We talked about Violator and how I've always dreamt, even though I worked at the Gap and did not dream of working at Violator ever. Sometimes you gotta embellish a little bit, right or wrong. And that day, she was like, well, come up to the office. I'm not doing anything. Come up, the office is slow. So I went up to the office. This day, I heard this voice, this deep voice from the corner. Hello, what are you doing? She's on the phone. And I'm like, well, who is that? She's got the big corner office. She came out of her office, and I'm sure she doesn't remember this at all. She came out of her office, and she's like, are you here for, can I help you? Are you here for a meeting? So I looked up at Tiffany, getting ready to say, well, Tiffany, so I was like, well, actually, I came to drop off my resume to Tiffany, and Tiffany looked at me like, please don't throw me under the bus. And I was like, but I'm actually here for an internship, a job, I'm not sure. I dropped off my resume, and I just sat down for a quick second, and I was like, I don't know what you do, but I'm sure you're pretty important because you have the corner office. And I was like, but I can do whatever. I can file papers, I can go get coffee, whatever it is that you need. And I'm like, at this time I thought I wanted to go to law school. And I'm like, I want to go to law school. I just remember rambling and talking, and Mona was like, okay, all right. Can you just start today? You can organize my office. Go, sit with my assistant, but just get her something to do. Just get her something to do. And that is where my life changed. Not because I had this amazing story about how great I am, because I'm really pretty average, but the difference with me is when I go like this and no one answers, I just keep knocking and I keep knocking, and eventually, you hear how annoying that is? Eventually, someone is like, what do you want? Leave me alone. And that is kind of what has separated me from a lot of different people, because I don't stop knocking. And even if you open the door with a little bit of a crack and I can stick my head and best believe that foot is coming next. And because I put my foot in, my body in, you have to let me in. And once I get in those doors, I'm going to be the one that's at the office first. I'm going to be the one that's there after you. I'm going to your house on the weekends. I'm helping you with your children. I am in the delivery room when you're delivering your babies, when no one else is there. I am being your shoulder to cry, and I'm crying on your shoulders. I'm carrying your bag. I'm at the parties getting your drinks. If you cough, I got a tissue for you to blow your nose. Whatever it is, I'm going to do that if that's going to get me in the room. And I graduated college with honors. So sometimes we get to this place where we feel real pompous, like, oh, I'm not holding her tissue. I'm not holding nobody's bags. I was Mona's bag holder for a whole year. I didn't have money. Mona wouldn't even let me talk in a meeting. She was like, be a fly on the wall. If you open your mouth, there's going to be a problem. Wax on, wax off. And the minute I opened my mouth, it was like, did I ask you to speak? And for real, it didn't matter. I was in the room, and sometimes we just got to get in the door, whatever it takes.
And let me and I don't want to interrupt the flow because I know you guys need to introduce yourself, but I don't know if we'll get a chance to tell another story that I just want to add to really quickly. So fast forward, and everything she's told you is absolutely true, and it was more like 2 years of holding my bag. But the bottom line is, but the reason I say that is because there was never any ego, right? She came out of college, she had her degree, she had countless opportunities, but she had made up her mind that this was what she wanted to do, and she wasn't going to let anyone, including me, stand in the way of that. So fast forward to maybe having worked with me for 2 years, or maybe a year at that point, and I am not easy. I'm the first person to admit that, right? Because I demand a lot of myself. I demand even more of the people who work with me, because especially if there is talent and if you have potential. I'm better with someone who has zero potential that falls short than someone who has all the potential in the world and falls short. Because now you're wasting the gifts that God gave you. And I remember at one point, Andy, there was something going on, and I was, any children in the room? Because I cussed, no? I was in your butt, okay? And she stood in front of me, and she was standing there, and I'm going in about something, and there were tears pouring down her face. And I said, go ahead, quit, go ahead, because I know you want to quit. Just do it, just quit. And Yandy said something to me that I talk about all the time because it made such an impression. She said, I'm not going anywhere because I came here to get something from you, and I'm not leaving till I get it. You know what I'm saying? So imagine. And I was like, you know what? Wipe your damn face and go back to your desk. But the bottom line is, it speaks to the perseverance and the tenacity, and she's absolutely right. She will get on your darn nerves until you finally give in. But what's important is that when you do, she doesn't disappoint. Amen. So it's not just about getting in the door, it's about being excellent when you get in that room, right? So I just wanted to add to that.
Wow, and before my on? Good evening, everyone. I am Takoa Hash. I am the founder of the Technique Agency, a boutique beauty firm that hires hair and makeup for TV and film, mostly because of these two women right here, Mona Scott Young and Yandy Smith, and I'll get to the story and how I met them, but I'm honored to be amongst you guys, and I'm humbled. And I will say, when I found out I was on the yeah, I'm a Christian girl, so the devil crept in my head and told me I wasn't good enough. And you know what? I had to look in the mirror and remind myself that God wouldn't put me where He didn't think I was capable of. I faced my fears by being on this panel with you guys, and I'm honored and humbled. But I never knew I would be a makeup artist. I would say I did come from entrepreneurs. My mother worked in a salon. She owned salons, and my dad was a preacher. 2 worlds apart, but they were always very supportive. I always thought it would be something bigger, better than my parents. So guess what? I got a full scholarship to college. I took it. After being the 4th kid to go to college, you don't turn down a full scholarship. I didn't get Spelman. I didn't get Hampton where I wanted to go, but I got a full scholarship. And I had to take it, but I was lost and I had no direction. And I didn't surround myself with the right people. So after 3 years, I quit. I left a full scholarship. And I always knew from the moment I stepped foot in New York at 13, my first vacation away from my parents, I always knew I wanted to be here, didn't know why, but I was always inspired by the lights and the life. So I found my way to New York eventually, and I told my parents, I'm going to keep going to school, I'm going to go get that degree, I'm going to go do something that I love. And my mom always taught me, find your passion, find your fortune. I love cooking. I love being in the entertainment industry. I love that life, but I didn't quite know what my direction was. But in college, I held a job with MAC Cosmetics. So after 6 months, you can transfer anywhere. I came here for interviews in New York, didn't live here. I interviewed 6 different places in 6 different boroughs. I got every single job. And I took the job furthest away from where I was living. I worked in Long Island in a MAC store. I was living in Staten Island. Google Map wasn't that great, but it said 30 minutes on the map. But you know, my mom gave up her car. She supported me, and it would take me 2 or 3 hours to get to work every day. And I didn't think I wanted to be a makeup artist. I just thought this is going to support me while I finish my degree to make my parents happy. Less than a month after me getting here, I got my first record label paycheck, and it was more than I made in 2 weeks, and then that's when I became a makeup artist. Humbling times. What I didn't know is that my network came from having that consistent job. But after working a little bit as a freelancer, I thought I made more money than I did with that 9 to 5 that I had at MAC. So, you know, a little bit of ego involved. After a little bit of time, I quit MAC. And did my own thing, and a lot of ups and downs, but I knew then it was my passion. But you know, once you know, I'm highly favored. I always got in the right room, but I didn't like that I was the silent person in the room. And as what I try to teach my artists is, be seen and not heard. We're the hired help. We're not there to be the star at the time. So I didn't like that I was being ignored in the room. I thought I had something more to give than just making somebody look pretty and look good. And I think another one of my gifts that I often saw is every time I was in, you know, one of these environments, I would always think of someone I knew that can benefit from that situation. Like, oh, this is a better artist for this situation. I know a writer that can benefit from this. I know a photographer that can benefit from this. And, you know, after a while of getting people jobs, I'm like, I should turn this into a business. I grew up with I love sports. I grew up with a few athletes that made it to the NBA. That was one of my first ends. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to use the context I got as a makeup artist to help get them endorsement deals and get them in the right room. So I was able to work with them for a few years, but I don't think God was ready for me yet to get to the next level. I think that with their salary, my ego grew, and I saw how people, excuse my French, kiss my ass to get close to them. And it worked well. I think I did really great things with them, but I gave up my makeup kit, didn't want to be a makeup artist anymore. This is about 8, 9 years ago. Didn't want to do that anymore. I'm going to work in the entertainment industry, whether it's like being someone's personal assistant, doing PR marketing for them, however I could use the resources that I made. So that didn't work. And I had to go back to my brushes, which was a gift that God gave me to be able to sustain myself in this city with no family. And I went back to doing makeup. Thank God, gave me the love and the passion to keep doing it again. Got more contacts and more contacts. And I will say that I heard about Mona probably a year after I moved to New York. I've been here, this is my 15-year anniversary in New York. I heard about her for a long time, and I remember meeting Yandy and hearing about this hip-hop show. I heard about this hip-hop show that was going to happen probably from 3 or 4 different people that didn't know each other. And I'm like, okay. And I knew that Yandy was connected to Mona. It was that, not the one that you just produced, but the one right before that where we did like the Down South theme. I saw Yandy in the room. She happened to get in my chair. And I'm a pretty bold person, but sometimes I get a little timid and don't speak up when I should. But this day, I spoke up when I should, and I said, I heard about this show. You know anything about it? She's like, yeah, I'm gonna send an email. She sent the email the next day. She kept her word. Yandy kept her word. She introduced me to Mona. Started working on the show a little bit later. And Mona, as she's already told you, she's a mogul. You know this. She has a zillion different things going on. And I knew that I had a crew of people to help, but I felt like Mona relied on me to like be in 10 different places at 10 different times with her music, her TV, her everything. And I remember being in the airport one day, and she was like, Takoa, I need you in like 3 different places tomorrow. And I already had this thought in my mind, in my heart, in my head, that I had this crew of artists that I can bring along for the ride that would probably do a better job than me. And I'm like, Mona, why don't you just let me handle everything you need, Glam? And she said, okay. Like that simple. And if I wouldn't open my mouth, 5 years later, I don't know where I would be. Yeah. And you know, I know that my gift is helping other people getting to their gifts. And she gave me this opportunity. It would have happened with or without, you know, I could be an inspiration to some of you guys out here.
Real quick, I said this earlier as well. There's a saying that behind every man, there's a great woman. But I like to think that besides every great woman, there's a greater sister. And I truly, truly believe that, you know, in this room and on the stage below, there's so many people that have touched me and helped me be who I am, because I cannot ever do it by myself. So I only feel complete when I lay my head down at night if I'm doing the same thing. So we have to absolutely take these little lessons and these little notes. You never know how you can bless someone's life just with an email. Just with an email, just with an introduction, just with an event like this. You never know who you're sitting next to that might change your life tomorrow. So just be mindful of that.
Hi everyone. I'm Laurel DeWitt. I am, well first of all, I'm like so inspired right now. Are y'all inspired? I'm just like, I'm all emotional, like I'm gonna cry. But yeah, so my name's Laurel DeWitt. I'm from Brooklyn. I've been in Brooklyn since 2001. Came to college. I went to Pratt Institute as a fashion designer. Well, I am the owner and designer of Laurel DeWitt jewelry. That's one of my pieces. And I'm also the partner. This is my new business venture. I'm the partner and creative director of Laurel DeWitt Accessories. So I now have a manufacturing deal for my designs. So I went to Pratt and I went for apparel design. I went to accessories, and I had my first summer in the city, which was my sophomore year, and my parents were like, okay, take classes, like we'll cover, you know, your tuition will cover your rent, but you need to figure out like how you're gonna live. So me and a couple friends, including Samantha Black, some of y'all might know her, we actually were roommates, and we would go on the street in Soho and sell our jewelry for $5. So I had these earrings that was made from recycled metal. We would sell them on the street, and we would just come out Thursday, Friday night, and we would just have like $200 cash, selling them at $5, $10, and we would go party, whatever. All my earrings were named after Brooklyn streets, and that's what kind of started it. And then did my senior thesis and made a full metal clothing line, and the teachers kind of told us, like, you know, don't expect to have your own line right away, you know, start working in the industry. When I was in school, I interned, or actually freelanced for Fila, and then Australia Rent Intimate Apparel, and then I graduated on a Friday, and on a Monday I started working for Rockaware handbags back in 2005 when they were really hot. So, I know. So, since then I've designed handbags and belts for like Michael Kors, Guess, Kenneth Cole, Juicy Couture, Walmart, Target, which honestly is like the bread and butter of all these companies that have licenses. And you know, some years went by, recession happened, I started laying it off, and I was making these accounts. I was making millions and millions and millions of dollars for these companies with my sales of my designs, and I was like, I need to do this for myself because this is some bullshit. I mean, I was literally like, you know, I literally have accounts that are 20 million a year, and I'd be making less than 100,000 a year, and I was like, this isn't fair. So I started my own line, started again with the metal things, called it Laurel Lux at the time. Just started kind of, didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know what PR was, didn't know anything. I exchanged some cookies for a PR list, started mailing stuff out to people. Like literally, it was at a job where they had, like I was designing for Target, and the girl was like, I'll give you my list if you make me some of your cookies. I'm like, okay. So I traded that and just started networking. I ended up like, at like Rip the Runway, dressing Nicki Minaj, and like when she hosted all this random stuff, I just was just, here's my jewelry, and you know, for me it was my product that was number one, and that's what kind of, you know, when people saw I made sure I had unique product, and then did that for a few years, and I rebranded under my name, Laurel DeWitt, and that's when I started like really doing outlandish things. So I started seeing people like knocking me off, and I actually met her because I gave some earrings for the first Love and Hip Hop show. I did like these swag earrings, right? So I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff. So now I'm here and rebranded, started doing crowns. I did the Beyonce crown for him for the weekend. I did Nicki Minaj and Anaconda video. So just so you guys remember some stuff. The chain dress Amber Rose wore for the VMAs, and then she walked in my show. So things like that, like, you know, just putting yourself out there and having your product speak for you has been great. And then, you know, building up this press and clientele and celebrities and stuff, that's what made me be valuable. And I was offered like the worst deals you could ever think of. Like one of my old bosses tried to give me a manufacturing deal for like giving them my name for life for 3 years of salary. And you're like, excuse me? And you know, so you get these offers, and you know, they promised me the world, and then that was the final offer, and I denied it. And now I'm in a situation where I have a manufacturing deal for my handbags and accessories, where I'm an equal partner in the company, and I'm licensing my name. So like, that's been like a big accomplishment, because it's kind of putting together like my two worlds that I've been trying to balance, because I've been doing both this entire time. A lot of people that know the brand Laurel DeWitt, they don't know that I've been designing bags, and I sleep like 4 hours a day if I'm lucky every day, and it's just creating, because that's what's been paying the bills for Laurel DeWitt. So finally I have, you know, investment and, you know, just working hard and getting it done. So, and then it's also been Andy, who, you know, social media is a big part. She wears my pieces and you know, Instagrams, and that's been such a huge support, and yeah, it's been amazing. So.
I used to, can y'all hear me?
No, you should switch back.
Oh, I gotta smart this out. Jeez. I used to know somebody named Sleep. I haven't seen Sleep in a long time. It just, you ever want to be an entrepreneur, the first thing that goes is sleep. Last year, I was in the same audience, right? I was in the same audience, and I was in the audience, and the panel was dope. And in my mind, I was like, I should be on that panel. And it was like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm better than everybody on the panel. It was more like, I have a few things that I need to say. I can take on the heartstrings, I can do it. And after it was over, I met Yandy at the exit, because I waited. Sometimes you gotta wait for your friends. Yandy is one of those friends that's so busy that you can't be mad that you don't get the invite, because she meant to sit, like she said in her head, but you just didn't get it, and then really try. So you gotta meet her at the door. So I met her at the door, and I was literally like, so next year, me, panel, right? And she was like, yeah. In my mind, I was like, she don't know that that's a real yes. You can shake your head yes all you want to, but this is gonna happen. And a few months ago, it was supposed to happen, and I was like, oh, I was scrolling through your Instagram, and I saw EGL was coming up, and I didn't see at Ray Holiday or nothing. I didn't see a picture or nothing. It just seemed like what you told me at the exit sign was it. Okay. She was like, no, we had to postpone it. In my mind, I was like, all right, give me a few months. But I say all that to say that you guys have a very, you got a seat at the table today. So I don't want you guys to leave here thinking that like we're important, but you're like more important. So the purpose of any conference is for you to learn something. So all the magic is here. If you leave without it, it's not our fault. It's your fault. So I just want you guys to really pay attention to the magic that's happening up here. So I'm Ray Holiday, by the way. I'm the co-creator of a blog called Stuff a Lot of People Like. We are 8.5 years old now. We are part of the TV One network. That was big for us because the only other platform that was accepted was Global Grind, and Global Grind is a multi-million-dollar blog, and we are not yet. And so for them to see us on the same level had a lot to do with the work that we put into it. I'm also a personality for BET, for MTV, for Essence. It just goes on and on. But I started 8.5 years ago as a Brooklyn boy, and I grew up in a house that there was a lot of love. I just didn't feel it. I didn't have parents who were like, yo, I love you. Great, you're doing a good job. Keep it going. They never said that. Sit down, shut up, go to school, do something. Not in my face, please. Sit down, talk to somebody else, look at me. You know, sometimes you got those parents that are just not, hey, I love you, you're so amazing, keep it going, oh my God, but it's cool. Doesn't mean that they didn't love me. They did, they just didn't TV love me. They loved me the way they were raised, and it was cool. Now as an adult, I'm not hurt, but I was hurt when I was younger, because I just didn't get it. And I've always been special in my head. So I'm just like you, because I know I feel it. A lot of times you're special to you, nobody else gets it, but in your mind you're like, yo, I'm special. I can do that. I can do all these things, I just need help. The help is here. I just want to be really, really clear. So I did what my grandmother wanted me to do. She wanted me to get a great job. She wanted me to get some benefits. I worked for a Fortune 500 security firm for about 6 years. I made the most money I'd ever made in my life. I was the first one in my family, my immediate family, to go to college. I was popping to somebody. Not to me, because in my mind I was like, there's just more to life than this. I was making my parents happy. My grandmother was so happy. I moved out finally. I was like 25 at the time, and I was there a little bit too long. 5 years, way too long. And you know, my grandmother never visited me when I left because she was so mad. But that's another story. I struggled because I had this job, and I thought that I was going to feel so fulfilled, and it just wasn't happening. I used to dream about being an entirely different person than I was when I got to work. And it just didn't make sense for me to do what I was doing, and all these dreams to be like, well, you should be talking more, and you should be doing something that's helping people. And I was like dealing with human resources. And people were dumb, and I was angry, and I didn't understand why I was in this position. And every day I complained. Every single day. I would come in complaining. Why y'all sitting like that? Move. You just in the way. Nobody was there but me. I was just angry, you know what I mean? So I was introduced to a blog called the YBF. This is about 9 years ago. Young, Black, and Fabulous. Which is crazy because in 2015 I was named one of the 10 game changers of the year, and I was alongside Natasha Eubanks, who actually is the founder of the YBF, which is the same blog that pushed me into doing it. So when we first started the blog, we didn't know what we were doing. We were stealing pictures. We were just making up things. We were doing what we thought bloggers did. It was bad. We almost got sued a few times. We didn't have any money, so they couldn't sue us because we'd have been like, fine. I'm just not gonna get it. We started to take it more seriously as it started to be progressive. Janelle Monáe was our very first big artist. This is about 6 years ago. We broke her in the blogosphere, and we just were on the up and up from then. But I was still in the middle of Stuff a Lot of People Like and a corporate job. And Stuff a Lot of People Like was paying me, I can't even remember because that's how much nothing it was paying me. But corporate America, oh, I was chilling. Bonuses, it was great. But I was unhappy. And one day, God stepped down and said, well, I know it was God now, I was a little upset then. I ended up getting laid off because, listen, I was brown on the job. I was there for like 7 years. I thought I owned the place. I was walking in late. I was leaving early. Like, I was like, Stuff a Lot of People got an event. What's your payroll? Do it when you want to. I'm not doing it. I'm going to hang with Janelle Monáe. And my boss is like, so guess what? It's your day off. I need you to come in. I was like, but it's my day off. He said, no, it's important. I said, well, you know, I tried it, so I know what happens when they call you on your day off. And I remember being on the train and calling my business partner now and being like, so I'm gonna get fired today. And he was like, what do you mean? It's happening. So I'm about to do stuff a lot of people like full time, whether you like it or not. Let's figure it out. And I got the courage on the way there, and I'm just like, you know what? If I get fired, it's going to be a good thing because I keep saying I'm going to save money. I ain't saved no money yet. And that's what happens when you have that dream, though. That's why I'm going to say this: work with what you got because you wait. You say I need $20,000. Where you going to get it from? Where's it coming? Like I kept saying, I'm going to save it. And I'm going to dip into my 401k. It's not that much, doesn't matter. I'm going to do it. And I walked in and my boss said, I walked in, it was him, it was the head of HR. Now, I fire people all the time, so I knew what it looked like. So as I walked in, they had already set up. The atmosphere was already set up. And I walked in and I said, so, I'm going to stop you. Can I get unemployment? He was like, yeah. I said, well, we ain't got to go through this. He said, clean out your desk. I said, I used to wear suits all the time. He said, you got your suits and stuff, you know, take. I said, I'm not wearing them anymore. Give them to the intern, do something because I'm out. Now, you said I can have unemployment, right? Okay, cool. So, we worked out the severance, we worked out everything. Guys, within 6 months, I was broke. I went from making $100,000 a year to making what's unemployment? Maybe 19. Something like that. I know it was like 4 something every week. That's what I know. Because I was maxed. Don't come for me. I was maxed on it. I maxed it out as much as I could. But you know, if you have ever been there, that's a stretch. So I was ducking my landlord to the point where I had it down to a science. I had the blinds here. I would get really, really quiet. Turn my phone off. And I ducked him for 3 months, and the girl upstairs blew me up. Fine, I'm still gonna see her one day. I remember her being outside. She was like, he in there. Every time you ask me, he be there. And I see him run out to his event. She do that. Fine. My grandmother lived across the street, so when I came from my events, I would go to my grandmother's house because the window. You can see my house, and if my landlord was out there, I used to stay with my grandmother because that's what grandmothers are for, clearly. So, one day it ran out, and I walked outside, and I swear I wasn't thinking, maybe I was hungover or something. That's when I used to drink heavy. And I walked out, and the landlord was right there, and I was like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, I would just act like, I'm not gonna say nothing, because if I don't say nothing, then he don't say nothing, we're cool, right? And so I tried to, and he was like, well, wait. I said, So, he was really disappointed in me. He wasn't upset. I never had any issues with paying my rent before. It was just the disappointment of him chasing. And he told me, he said, listen, you have to have this money. I told him, I said, my unemployment ran out. Obama didn't sign a bill. It was true. It sounds funny. It was true. You do it on a Sunday, and your money's supposed to be there on a Tuesday, and it wasn't there. And I called like, hey. So they were like, oh, your president didn't sign the bill. I said, so what happens? They said, well, you just keep, filing it. You get the retro. What does that mean? And they were like, it can take months, and you'll get it all back. What do I do for money in between time? They was like, we don't know. Just keep. So when he did sign it, and all the retro did come, but it was like getting paid on a Friday and no money on Saturday because I owed so much people. I owed my landlord, and at that point, I said, it has to get better. The blog was picking up, but I still wasn't making any money. And then this pivotal moment happened for me. My aunt died. She was my favorite aunt. She was my favorite aunt for a reason, because she was a chef and she could eat anything and tell you how to make it better, what you needed to add. She would sit and watch the Food Network all day, and when she would cook, it was dangerous and disgusting if you were scared of cholesterol or anything like that. But when she died, she got lung cancer. It came quick. It took her out in 2 months. The part that hurt me the most was that restaurant that she always talked about never happened. And she talked about that restaurant so much that we would complete the sentence. Oh, I'm gonna have a restaurant with it. We would be like, I know, not too big, not too small. She'd be like, stop. When she died, that dream died with her. And in my heart, I said, what happens when I get to the pearly gates and God says, yo, I gave you a gift, what you did with it? And I'm like, oh, I had a few kids. I didn't really expect to do that. I had some loans. I got a city job. And God is like, wait, I gave you a gift though, and you did nothing with it? At that point, I was afraid of dying with all of this in me. How selfish is that for God to be like, yo, I think you are great and amazing at what you do. All I want you to do is to just give a little bit. You know what that is? A gift, everybody has a gift, but you know what you're supposed to do with a gift, right? You're supposed to give it. You're supposed to give it to the world. So I gave you a gift and you did nothing with it. I got scared. At that point, I said, I'm going to do whatever I have to do for this purpose to come out. I literally was looking for purpose under cars, in street corners, like I would purpose you there, where you at? Does this sound well? Because at that point I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew it was something, and I knew that God would have put something in me, and I wouldn't have these dreams, and it just doesn't make any sense. So fast forward, end of 2015, I get an email from BET. You guys are familiar with the BET Honors. Every year the BET Honors, they honor someone who's been in the game for like 20 plus years, a lot of veterans. This was the first year that they were honoring people who they considered to be up and coming. So when I got the email, I was just like, you know, it's one of those emails that validates you because you feel like you talk too much and don't nobody be listening. I was like, you got nominated? Because I did. So what happened? In my mind though, being nominated is better than getting the actual award because you were noticed. You were noticed enough for them to be like, yo, he's popular. So it was best in class. They had 5 categories. I was in the category of entertainment. And they said, okay, Ray, you're nominated. If you win, what happened? They said, if you win, you'll be given an award and you'll get it on air at the BET Honors 2016. So I was just like, okay. They were like, so it was like a Thursday. They said, on Monday, we're going to tell you who you running up against. I said, wait, it's a real competition? They were like, yeah, well, people vote. I said, oh. So in my mind, I'm like, it's going to be some bullshit. On Monday, when I get up, they're going to have me running against somebody I ain't got no business running up against. It's going to be me and Will Smith. And I'm going to have to like, how are we going to do? So I was nervous that Monday I woke up, it wasn't working. Thank you, BET. And I called them and emailed them. I said, so what you're not going to do is nominate me and tell me that, you know, it's going to happen. That Wednesday it came out. And I was up against Shanice Wilson, who was Dorothy in The Wiz Live. And The Wiz Live was only like 5 days before, so everybody knew her. I was like, thank you, BET. And the second one was John Boyega, who was the only brown boy in Star Wars last year. So in my mind, I'm like, it's them and it's me. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, it was nice to get nominated. Real cute for you guys to put me in the category of people who have national coverage. And nobody don't know Ray Holiday except y'all. So, okay, cool. I got really discouraged really fast, but then I said, wait, it's a digital contest. If it's a digital contest, I'm digital. They're not. Oh, we about to fuck this up. Okay. I went through my Rolodex, and I hit up everybody, Andy included, and I said, okay, so for me to win this, you just gotta tweet it, or put your Facebook status. I've never worked so hard in my life. If I met you on a whim, I was like, hey, by the way, girl, next to class, hashtag it, put it up, and then the contest started a week in. BET literally emailed me and was like, Ray, can you tell your people to stop? What do you mean? Is it not a contest? I thought I was, what happened? And so, when they announced the winner, I was still nervous, but you know what? It's still my platform against them. And literally, I got an email, they like, how did you get Diddy to hashtag this? I was like, how did you get Diddy? They were like, people who don't even, for BET, were using the hashtag, and they was like, how? When they emailed me, they said, okay, Ray, we gotta let you know that you won, but don't say anything. Just tell your people to stop, because they're gonna break the server. But in that moment, for me, I felt so validated as a person. And sometimes you reach out to a lot of people and you're on your hustle and you're on your grind and you don't really get that opportunity to be like, yo, I just really love people and I just really love what I do. So I think if you don't take anything from me or anything from us, just know that your seat at the table is right here. All you really have to do is set up your hashtag. You set up your hashtag, you put it out there, and you can win. It's not about anybody else being better than you. It's just about you winning. This is a room full of people who we can all win simultaneously. Why not? Why not? Why does there have to be a bigger winner than me? And to add really quickly, I learned to be a very effective number 2. Because you cannot be effective at a number 1 position if you don't know how to be a number 2. And when I hear Yandy's story, it warms my heart because she was a number 2 for a long time and she didn't care. She just rocked with it because she didn't care who thought she was a number 2. She just ran with it. And now, what spot is she in? You know, let me tell you something, out of the whole Love and Hip Hop franchise, when I take pictures with Yandy, I'll be like, you gonna put this on your Instagram? Because I need some followers. But they don't just be ratchet. They be like, can you, she's still signing people? But what I'm saying is that she's an effective number 1 because she knew how to be an effective number 2. And you being in this room is you being an effective number 2. So when you get your number 1 position, you'll be on, you'll be back.
Myself, I'm not from the city too, so I know exactly where you're coming from. I'm from upstate. So with that being said, what I ended up having to do is, you know, you might, let's just say you have an artist and he's getting 5,000 views. Local or 20,000, that might be a great thing if everyone thinks, you know, you guys are doing well, but in reality, that's really nothing, right? So what I would tell you to do is, honestly, just be consistent, right? As far as what you, if I gotta get that contact, I promise you, we're gonna have a long conversation, same thing as Yandy, you get the book, you figure out what people are about, you build that rapport.
Can I add to that? I'm sorry, only because we talked earlier, right? And then you stood up in this room. And I'm just going to keep it real, because you guys came here to get information, right? You don't want to sit here and just hear us talk about ourselves. You want some tangible steps that can help you. I still have no idea what you do, what you're trying to do, and what, you know, and how I can even give you the first piece of advice to help you get there. So the first thing I will say, because this is, what is this called? Entertainment Business 101. So we're going to give you concrete steps. You need to be more focused on what your ask is. Because when you get an opportunity to ask a question, you need to ask a specific question so that I can give you a specific answer that will help you. When you say, I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, help us get put on. What does that mean?
I didn't finish. I help my artists to do meet and greet, campaign launch. We came to Harlem, we distributed CDs. After that, it was kind of like at a halt. So what more do we need to do?
So you manage?
Yes, I do manage.
Okay.
I do manage.
You manage. Number 1 thing I would tell you, again, get out of Connecticut. You got to come to the city. It's not going to be easy, right? Right now, there's great people here. So even if you just make a few contacts here, and this is kind of like the perfect opportunity to tell, I guess, everyone how I got started. Because I was, again, from upstate. I went to one event. And I was like, I was an accountant, so I was trying to get on to, quote unquote. I knew nobody, right? My wife is here, she's a publicist. She got invited to a Kevin Costner event. And I was like, she was like, you know, I'm going to a Kevin Costner event. I was like, you know what, let me just tag along. Because I wanted to be in the business, but I was always on the business side, but not really in the industry. So I took that one opportunity. Literally, I felt like, all right, this is how I'm going to get on. I'm going to meet everybody I need to meet tonight, and I'm going to make those contacts and use that as a stepping stone. I went in there, and I met DJ Zeke. That was the first person I spoke to in there. I went in there, I spoke to like 6 different people. And I locked in their contact, I followed up, and there were, honestly, like interns. There weren't anybody special. They were just like regular people. I was just like, you know what, if you've been here, you somehow, some way important. The social dynamics, you can't be here and not be in the business. So I had to figure something out. I met those people, got with them, got with their contacts, got with their next contact, and when I was working with them, I was doing great work. And I was doing it for free, just like Yandy and everybody else, just to get the opportunity. So what I would tell you is it's a big sacrifice that you're doing because you're coming from far. But it's either you move out here or you put it on your budget to be out here as often as possible and make the contacts here. Because ultimately, the closer you're here, the closer you're going to be to media, the closer you're going to be to this network and building those rapport. So that would be my honest advice.